Welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all Pennsylvania students, sponsored by the Pennsylvania Association for College Admission Counseling and StriveScan. PACAC is a nonprofit association comprised of more than 1,200 school counselors, college admission counselors, independent education consultants, and other professionals responsible for guiding students through the important transition from high school to post-secondary options. Thank you for joining us today. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of the many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at pacac.org. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website, pacac.org. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenters.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Laurie Barrow. I am the Director of Admissions for Harrisburg University of Science and Technology. And before I have our other guests here introduce themselves, I just wanted to go over what today's presentation is all about in the panel discussion. This is about STEM careers, and we wanted to really target not only why STEM careers are so valuable and definitely the place to be, but some of the myths that are associated with a STEM career. I think that as we go through this, you're going to probably shake your heads and agree with a lot of these misconceptions about a STEM education. STEM obviously means science, technology, engineering, and math. We certainly hope that you're interested in one or more of these areas, but if you're not, hopefully you'll learn a bit today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and welcome our guests from Harrisburg University, Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology, and Pennsylvania College of Technology. My fellow presenters, you're able to see the screen, I hope, at this point? Wonderful, super. All right, so with no further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Aaronspina. You're muted, Aaron? There we go.
Hi, everybody. My button wouldn't unmute, so tech problems during a pandemic, who would have thought? But my name is Aaronspina. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions with Harrisburg University of Science and Technology, and I also serve as the admissions counselor for all of Central Pennsylvania. Harrisburg University of Science and Technology is a four-year private STEM college. We are located in the heart of downtown Harrisburg, PA. We have roughly 850 undergraduate students on campus, so we offer small class sizes in a unique education. We offer 11 different majors and up to 18 different concentrations. So I hope you'll get a chance not only to learn a little bit about STEM today, but also a little more about Harrisburg University and also our fellow STEM partners here from other institutions as well. But I'm going to actually turn it over to Miss Katie Burke, and she's going to introduce herself for Penn College of Technology.
Thanks, Aaron and Laurie. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Katie Burke. I'm an admissions counselor at Pennsylvania College of Technology, or Penn College. We are located in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. We have about 5,000 students. We are a public institution, and we do have certificates, associate, bachelor's, and master's degrees. We're all super excited to have you joining us here today. We offer over 100 diverse majors here at Penn College. And if you're looking for a hands-on education, you'll find that here in our 150 plus learning labs that we have. So I'm excited for you to learn more about us, as well as Harrisburg University and Thaddeus Stevens, and of course, what you can do with your STEM degree. With that being said, how about we hand it over to Samantha?
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Weitzel and I am from Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. I'm really excited that you're here and listening because STEM careers are really amazing and there's so many opportunities. At Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology, we are a two-year associate degree programs. So we have over 24 different majors that you can choose from. And we do have a few certificate programs, but we basically focus on two-year associate degrees. We are a smaller school. We have about 1,300 students, and we are located on the outskirts of Lancaster City. So that brings us to our topics.
All right, thank you very much to Aaron and Katie and Samantha. We're glad that you're all here today. So let's go ahead and get into our myth busting. So myth number one is that only straight A students succeed in STEM education and STEM careers. Aaron, let's get started with you. What do you have to say about that for our folks out there?
Yeah, so I think it's a really good myth to actually start off with because, working in admissions and higher education for, roughly going on between 8 and 9 years right now, one of the commonalities I found is, the known aptitude to, have a high GPA or high grades or being a straight A student. And I think this really plays into STEM specific because when you think of the different career paths you can look into in science, in technology, but also to engineering and even mathematics, I think one of the things that people think about first and foremost is, man, if I'm not a straight A student, let alone in high school, but also through college, then I'm probably not going to be successful. And I really think that could actually be farther from the truth. And I'm not downplaying the, idea of not having good grades in college, because of course the education is certainly, one of the main points of you going to college and gaining this experience. But also too, if you think about it from, whether it be famous scientists or, people in the current tech industry right now, I would say probably one of the common themes you're going to see is failure. And by what I mean in this is that failure can lead to a multitude of different successes. So there's always a common theme that, one man's failure is another man's, bright idea or something along those lines. So I think that with STEM, that's a common theme that, it's not always about the successes, but also too, again, while stressing the importance of your education, I think one of the commonalities between a school like Harrisburg University, but also to Penn College and Thaddeus-Stevens, amongst other STEM colleges throughout the United States, is the ability to gain a hands-on education. So it's not always about the grades. It's not going to be about that GPA when you're coming out of college that employers are necessarily taking a look at. They want to see, hey, do I have hands-on job experience? Am I working on projects? Am I doing medical research when I'm in college? They want to know what type of hands-on accessibility you're going to have during an education. And I think that's a commonality you're going to find amongst all three of us.
I totally agree, Aaron. When you're in college, of course, academics are going to make up a huge portion of your experience. And, that's something that you're definitely paying attention to when you're navigating your college search. But really you want to see how else you can get involved while you're on campus and what other ways that you're going to be able to stick out to your employers. So one of those ways is absolutely through work-based learning opportunities and, getting hands-on experience both in and out of your classroom. So getting connected with internships while you're, completing your programs through the summers. And then also if you have the opportunity to study abroad or work with other employers throughout your industry, work with your academic success center and your tutoring center, work with career services, and also look at what different student organizations and clubs you can get involved with as well, and really work on those soft skills, and also, get as many leadership experiences as you can, and look at other ways to also build up your resume outside of your math and science and your engineering, and really just try to make yourself stand out and as employable as possible.
I have to agree with everything that Aaron and Katie were saying. Something to add to it, it's not about always having an A+ in all the math classes and science classes. It's not about being the best in your class. Sometimes even more important than the grades is the critical thinking and the problem solving. That's what we really look for in our STEM careers, when we talk to employers and when we're in our classes at Thaddeus-Stevens. But it's about being able to problem solve and wanting to figure it out. And like Aaron mentioned, you're gonna fail, but sometimes you learn more from failing than always being perfect or always having that #1 A+ grade. And to go along with that, I know a lot of times students think, well, if I don't have that A+, I don't have that B+, I shouldn't even apply, I shouldn't even try. And I know probably at all of our colleges, there's opportunities to, get started. And maybe it's not about being that best student or having that best transcript, because we look at other things too. We look at your passion about your major. We look at how you're involved with like just with getting to know us and reaching out and doing some career exploration or job shadowing. So all of those things, basically you don't need to be an A+ student. Most of our students are not A+ students sometimes, or don't have any experience. Maybe they didn't take the highest level biology or chemistry or highest math classes. So again, problem solving is almost even more important.
Thank all of you for that. I, of course, agree with everything you said, and I think that all three of our schools do an amazing job opening up doors for students. I think we all have a lot of first-generation students. We have students who don't really know where they fit in the spectrum of education and careers, and we give them those chances to flourish. And I think we all have really, really great success rate with helping to place these students into careers once they finish school. So wonderful. Before I get to the next myth, I want to remind the audience that we would love your questions. We have a lot to talk about, but we are more than willing to stop and answer anything that anybody wants to know. It can be a general question for the panel, or it could be unique to one of the schools. We are all yours. So feel free to type those questions at any point. I'll let them kind of finish talking, and we can get questions in between some of our slides here. Okay, so moving on to myth number 2. 1 second. There we go. Myth number 2, only males go into STEM. That is not true. We're going to start with our one male presenter here to kind of debunk that myth. Aaron, tell us what you think about that.
Yeah, I guess it's always interesting starting with a male whenever you're talking about a myth about male education in STEM, but, you know, this could be farther from the truth. And, you know, as we were going through and, you know, kind of learning more about this, you know, a lot of it is in the numbers in a multitude of different areas. You know, the National Science Foundation, if you look at statistics anywhere between 1990 and even 2010, so over a 20-year time frame, they actually show anywhere over a 5-year basis an average growth of females working in STEM-related careers, both science and tech, of at least over between 5 and 10% in that time frame. So, you know, we've really come a long way in terms of how that happens. But I think one of the nice things is where we can get a little more specific, and with all three of us being in the state of Pennsylvania within a very close vicinity, there's a lot of accessibility to, you know, outside organizations who can really help along these lines. And that is regarding, you know, really Women in STEM, which is a great coalition here in the state of Pennsylvania, who does a lot of great work, you know, with students, and statistically showing over the last 10 years, there's actually been a 33% increase within the state of females working in STEM related careers. So I think that statistically, a lot of these areas are showing that this could be really farther from the truth. And a prime example of that is what we like to talk about all the time at HU is, if you look from a scientific base, I mean, essentially all of our classes are dominated by females, especially, you know, programs like a forensics, for example. But across the board, I mean, our overall statistics shows that 44% of our overall programs at the university are females. So, you know, I would say statistically driven, that's a lot of good information to show you that, you know, not only one are females going in the STEM driven educational options, but also two, there's a lot more STEM driven options for career opportunities coming out of college as well. Absolutely.
And, you know, Aaron has the hard numbers to show how women in these STEM fields are growing. And absolutely don't let that deter you. If there is something that you want to do just because you think you know, the statistics might be against you, you should absolutely push through that and follow your dreams. I can speak to one of our students currently, Katie Ruggiero. She is an aviation maintenance major. So she is absolutely breaking barriers, and she was able to connect at a national conference for women in aviation. So I think that just goes to show that there are specific institutions or specific organizations out there for women to connect with each other and start networking within these STEM fields. And absolutely, if you're looking for a mentor for your program, look within your institution because women are here. We're here to empower each other. And then look for other organizations as well, because they're out there, and you know, we're all excited to be helping each other and lifting each other up through here and making sure that we can go as far as we can. So don't let any of these statistics work against you. And this is absolutely your time to push through those and push the boundaries.
So kind of going off of everything that Katie and Aaron said, what I think is really cool. So part of my job in recruiting is I partner with industry all across Pennsylvania to help me with recruiting, doing different things in high schools and reaching out to students. And what I think is so amazing is all of these employers are absolutely begging for females. Females, you're the cream of the crop. They want you. They want to diverse their population in their workforce. So absolutely females, there are so much opportunities. Please don't think that if you're going up against a male for that position, that the guy's absolutely going to get it over you. It's not like that. It is not a male-dominated field anymore. The other thing, just speaking from Thaddeus Stevens, we have over 24 different majors, and a lot of times people think of us as a trade school. And sometimes I get the comment, well, you don't have any girls there. Like, I don't see any girls. Where are the girls? And we have been growing our female population every single year, going along with the statistics that Aaron said, to the point that we have a female, actually more than one female, in all of our majors. It is so powerful when I go into the automotive shop and I see 5 girls in there, our students working, or when I look at our roster of teachers and we have a female plumbing instructor, we have 2 female welding instructors, we have a water and environment technology female welding instructor. So even our student body, but also the teachers, it's a diverse population. So absolutely, females, dive in there, get in there, and go after those majors.
That's really awesome to hear, Samantha. I know I've been to Thaddeus Stevens, and I've known a lot about it for years, and I would agree that I probably had this bias in my mind as well, that is, this misconception. So thank you all for kind of clarifying that. And I see that we did have a question for you, Aaron, that you went ahead and answered privately. John, if you have any other questions for us about that, feel free to reach out at any time. All right, fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and move on to myth number 3. Sorry, one second. Technology. All right, myth number 3, STEM is not creative. I guess, might be thinking that science and technology and engineering and math are just very black and white careers, very boring. You might have an image of your mind of what that looks like. And we're here to talk about how that is not true. And again, we're going to start with Mr. Aaronspina.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different areas of STEM that people really don't think about. And I think that's really something important that a lot of people can take from this. And I always use the example of business, that you think business is more of like just a general, management program, for example. But if you really look at different areas like entrepreneurship, for example, entrepreneurship is 100% creative that falls into the line of STEM. So whether it be somebody who wants to run their own business, or you just have general ideas, or you want to help out with investment opportunities to get people to have their own creativity or their own business ideas. I think that's one prime example of how STEM is extremely creative while thinking from a non-traditional STEM standpoint. But also too, outside of that, again, I think a lot of it might just fall into the letters when you're talking about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But you really want to look outside the spectrum in other areas. So that's going to include areas like game development, like web development, mobile applications, esports. So all these different areas really fall into the creative element, because now, if you look at the gaming industry as a whole, and this is a rhetorical question, so of course I don't, expect anybody to respond, but do you really see the gaming industry going anywhere anytime soon? The reason is no, or the answer is no, because look at the creative elements to go into, new and upcoming animation. Right now you have new Xboxes and new PlayStations about to hit the market. And I can't even imagine the billions of dollars that these companies are going to rack in. But also on the other side, just the creative elements to go into storylines, for example, coming up with virtual reality projects and working in an up and coming field like augmented reality, which puts all this space out in front of you instead of in a virtual environment. So there's a lot of ways that, if you kind of expound in terms of what traditional STEM is, to where it really falls into a non-traditional sense, but also at the same time, there's a lot of creativity that goes into it. And then, it's hard to, kind of argue against the areas of engineering not being creative. Look at all the structures across the world and how we've developed over the last 100 years. So, I mean, there's plenty of creativity in the field of STEM.
Thank you.
Absolutely agree with what Aaron was saying. I think within all of our STEM related majors here at Penn College, you're going to find ways that you need to be creative in order to come up with solutions and how you're going to solve these problems or whatever issues, or build a project together that you may have. If you've ever had the opportunity to visit our campus, you can see the welding statues that our welding students and faculty have been able to craft and create while they're here. Architecture is another major that comes to mind, which is all about creation, and you're physically, building models and putting those together, but also using different technology to come up with your different projects that you're going to be presenting to employers eventually. So absolutely, whether you're actually physically creating something or you're working through a problem in IT or coming up with some programming for, XYZ project, you're going to have to use creative thinking to think of how you're going to solve that problem and come up with, your solution and whatever you need to get done for that project to be the best that it can. Game and simulation also comes to mind here, because you're going through and you're thinking of your whole storyline and then coming up with the graphics and all of that behind the scenes stuff. So I would make the complete opposite argument and say that STEM is absolutely creative, and there's so much room for you to come up with your own solutions and move forward with projects and how you're going to be able to get from A to B or A to Z.
Thank you, Katie.
Well, I have to be honest. I was one of those when I was in high school. I was intimidated by STEM, and I was a very creative person. I actually went to school for art education. I loved anything and everything art. But when I was exposed to science and math, I always viewed it as it's all textbooks. It's all just doing math problems. It's all just lecture and reading. And I never realized how much creativity there is in all of these fields. And sometimes I feel, especially after working at Thaddeus-Stevens and learning about all of these majors, I was like, wow, there is something creative in every single aspect of all of these fields. And I think we all kind of hit on it, but it really comes down to being creative in your problem solving. Something as simple as, I know Katie just talked about welding, but metals fabrication and welding, just thinking about the design aspect, the drafting. When you think of computer aided drafting or computer software engineering, there is something creative about all of those. And there's this, and I know as a creative person, I really like to see the end result. I like to see where I started and what it looks like at the end. And on almost all these fields, you're seeing the end result. You feel this sense of fulfillment that I just made that. I used my imagination and my skill set in math and science to make the world better, or to make this product better, or to make a really cool building. So I really challenge you, if you are someone that's creative, or you have a creative friend that's like, no way, I don't like math, I don't like science, don't be afraid to share with them. There is creativity in STEM careers. So just food for thought.
Thank you, all three of you. That was a great way to debunk that myth. And we actually do have a question here from Madeline. And Madeline, you requested that we answer the question after we finish the myths. But honestly, I love your question. And I think it really kind of fits in with what we were just talking about as we sort of moved into talking about various programs. So I'd like to take a moment and have you all kind of go through and answer her question here. Madeline's asking if each of you could review a major on your campus that you feel is underrated or perhaps not well known enough among the general high school population. What's an amazing program that you offer that you wish more high schoolers knew about? And I'm going to expand that and say maybe you say one or two. I know what I would say for Harrisburg University, but I'm not going to take Aaron's thunder. I'll let him have a stab at that. And then Katie and then Samantha, please share with us one or two programs you wish more high schoolers knew about. Your chance to shine here. Go ahead, Aaron.
Number one that comes to mind for me is Geospatial Technology. Geospatial, and Laurie's giving me the thumbs up, but Geospatial Technology is what I would have went to college for if it was more well known whenever I was coming out of high school. I don't want to say the number, but 15 years ago. But for me, geospatial technology, it's a great encompassing element of traditional environmental sciences, but also to technologically driven information. So the keywords that I use with this is drone imaging, satellite imaging, geospatial information systems, or even to environmental sciences, because there's so many things you can do, whether it be construction crews or coal mining, or planning and mapping and fracking and satellite imaging. I mean, all these different things really come into play. And I can say from a successful standpoint why this is extremely underutilized, because number one, our students coming out of this major have a 98% success rate of getting their jobs within 6 months of graduation. But also number two, I think this really hits on the hands-on education of what STEM's all about. Our program offers a state-of-the-art lab on campus where you can start working as early as your second semester freshman year. The school will pay you up to $15 an hour to work in mapping and imaging and a lot of different projects. But also too, you can actually leave the institution with over 3,000 hours of hands-on job experience in the field of geospatial technology, which is leading a lot of our students into not only, public positions, but also to a lot in the private sector in terms of jobs in the city of Harrisburg with mapping and planning, Dauphin County GIS systems. It can lead into emergency systems in terms of planning mapping routes because of the aerial drone imaging that you can do for city settings. But also too, a lot on the federal government side with companies like the Environmental Protection Agency and even to the Department of Natural Resources. So I would say for me, top thing that comes to mind would be a program like geospatial technology.
Thank you. Katie.
I think this is a great question. One of the first programs that came to mind for me, I had a couple, but definitely plastics and polymers. So we have an associate degree program for this as well as the bachelor's degree, but we are one of 6 educational institutions that have the ABET accreditation for this. So plastics are, used obviously all across the world every single day. And for this program, we have all of the technology for you to learn the ins and outs of everything that goes to creating different plastics, the theory behind it, and then how you would be able to create these, but also troubleshoot it on the back end. We have students that are going to work in factories and working in the theory base all across the nation in this program. So if you are, a chemistry whiz, or you would like to find out more about this and you're interested in working with plastics, I would absolutely recommend checking out our plastics and polymer program a little bit more.
Excellent. I've never heard of that before. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So before I start working at Thaddeus Stevens, I never thought about water. Water is amazing. Water is part of our everyday life in so many different ways. And water is a business, and water is a very good paying business. And there's many different avenues that you can go with this career. So we have a major called Water and Environment Technology. When people hear that, they automatically think, oh, the environment, I like water, maybe I'll go do something and work for the environment. But what I am thinking about is wastewater and drinking water facilities, because every day I get a shower. Where does that water come from? Every day I flush the toilet. Who's making that clean? And honestly, when I went to my first wastewater facility, I was absolutely skeptical. I was not really excited. And I was like, it's just going to be stinky. And who wants to go into this field? And by the time I started at the beginning of the tour with the really dirty water to the time I got to the very end, when that water was so clean, that's actually cleaner than our drinking water, and we're putting it back into our environment, I was like, ding, 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 this is the coolest job ever. And the average age of people in working at these facilities are well above 50. So there are so many job opportunities, and our students that are graduating, there's like full out bidding wars for our students because we're basically one of the few programs like schools that actually even have a program. So within that, working at a wastewater facility or a drinking water facility, or even just something as who drinks from water bottles. I know sometimes I have water bottles. Who's doing quality control to make sure that's clean water? But there's science. So you're taking, if you love science and you kind of like lab work, but you're not the best, or you don't like all the craziness of intense lab work, water environment, like working at a wastewater drinking water facility is perfect because you're just doing some lab work. You go out and test the waters. There's some maintenance, there's some leadership, there's some science. There's so much in these fields that there's diversity in your day. And again, I just can't say how many jobs are out there. So water and environment technology, I recommend checking it out, because me as an art major and someone that's like hands-on creative, I love people, I would totally quit my job, not really because I like what I do, and go back to school work at wastewater or drinking water. So that's my fun. Think water.
You are very passionate. I love it. That's awesome. I didn't know about those two programs at Penn College and Thaddeus Stevens. And Madeline, we hope that helped. And I think she said, thank you so much. So you're welcome. And I like that question so much that after we get through Myth 4, if we're still waiting for questions, I'm going to ask you guys to go through one more time and give me your number 2 choice. I think that it's a great conversation, and I think it's really educational. So moving on to myth number 4. You need to be a science whiz. And we have good old Albert Einstein there, who's one of our probably fathers of science and definitely a genius. So Aaron, we're going to start with you and help us debunk myth number 4, that you need to be a science whiz to be in STEM.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where it could be really farther from the truth if you're somebody who's not pursuing a science major. Now, coming in and going into biology and chemistry, biotechnology, fabrication, these types of different areas. Yeah, you want to be good in science, but you don't always necessarily need to be a whiz. And one of the things that I always like to talk about with students and families is, these courses are offered to you in high school, and it's stuff you can start getting prepared for early on before you get to college. But at the end of the day, these are one of the things you come to college to be able to learn about. But also on the other side of it, if you look at it from a technological standpoint, depending on if science is incorporated, you really don't need to go through any sciences at all. And, I use, again, Harrisburg University with our tech programs like a computer science, for example. There are no science courses that are required of our students going into that major unless you want to take them as a general elective outside of your program of study. So, you don't have to have that background. You don't need to necessarily say, okay, if I'm going into STEM, I better start loading up on AP Biology, AP Environmental Science, AP Chem, those types of courses. It definitely helps you coming into it. But if you're worried about going into any STEM related field that does not have a heavy emphasis or doesn't involve sciences really, there's really no need to be worried to think that you would need to have a great background or really just be a science whiz for the term to be able to be successful in STEM.
I absolutely agree. And I'm going to rely a little bit more or talk specifically more about Penn College. But I know Thaddeus Stevens and Harrisburg University would have similar services offered on campus for students as well. So you don't have to be a science whiz by any means. And really at Penn College, you're going to have a lot of personalized attention while you're here, which I think Thaddeus Stevens and Harrisburg University could agree because we're all smaller schools. So our average class size is about 16 students per class. So you're going to have a lot of face time with your professors while you're here and really get to know your faculty and your instructors, and they're going to get to know you. So if you're worried about your chemistry or biology classes that you're taking, they're going to know it, and they're going to be there to help you and work with you to make sure that you are going to be successful in the class. We also have our academic success center. So you're going to have lots of opportunities for tutoring while you're here as well, to work both with a professional tutor as well as a peer tutor. You'll also have an academic advisor. So there's going to be lots of, ways for you to have a good support system while you're here. And you're going to constantly have people who care about you and have people that are checking in with you to make sure that you're set up for success while you're here in your courses. So by all means, you do not need to be a science whiz. You have to just have that drive and want to be successful and really push yourself. And I think at college, you're going to, start learning a lot more about yourself, and maybe you'll find out that you are better at science or you are better at math than you thought you were in high school. So I absolutely would just tell you to push yourself and use your resources.
So kind of going off of what Katie and Aaron were saying, I feel like sometimes I meet with students and they say, I like science or I don't like science. There's not really too much in between. And I feel like there's such a misconception that if you don't like science and if you're not good at science, then you're never going to pursue a STEM career. But what's really kind of cool is, like, I'll use HVAC. That's one of, like, the most in-demand, high-paid, trade jobs out there right now in the state of Pennsylvania. We just can't get enough people to go into HVAC. So that's heating, that's ventilation, that's refrigeration, that's air. So who likes sports? I know I like sports. So who likes ice hockey? I know I like ice hockey. So if you think about, if you are going to Hershey and you go to see a Hershey Bears ice hockey game, and you look at that awesome ice rink, well, how is that ice rink even there? How is it cold? Why is it cold? Who is, we just think of that Zamboni thing that goes across to keep the ice smooth, but who's actually keeping it frozen? That's science. And what I think, they actually hire some of our HVAC students to work at the Hershey ice rink to maintain that and to work on that. And that's an aspect of science that when you're in high school sitting in your biology or chemistry class, you're not thinking that I'm okay at science, but I'm not going for a science career. But in theory, if you go for HVAC, it's all about science. Right now, I can see that we have lighting, we have electrical in our house, we have lighting, we have powers, we have outlets. And when we see those people out there, male and females, being electricians, whether it's for your house, whether it's for your power lines, whether it's in a factory, we don't think that they're good at, science. It's not like a major that's screaming science at you, but it is actually a lot of science behind it. It's the hands-on science elements that I feel like sometimes people don't think about. So no, you don't need to be a science whiz. You just have to try and not be intimidated by it.
I think you're still muted, Laurie.
No, I'm sorry, I forgot. We're getting down to under 10 minutes here to go, so I want to remind the folks here in the audience to please ask away questions. While we're kind of waiting to see for the last couple ones that might come in, I'm going to give you all an opportunity. I'm going to ask you each just to quickly tell the audience if you offer associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, or any combination of those three. And also, if you could, highlight what you think is maybe the second most unknown major that your school offers that you'd like high school students to know about. I really love that question from Madeline. So, Aaron, if you go ahead and share.
Yeah, so Harrisburg University, we have all four-year bachelor degrees. We do offer master's and PhD as well. I would say probably an underutilized program that would come up second is biotechnology. Biotechnology is really an invasive science program. So the way you want to think of it is if you're in areas like biology and chemistry, it's about getting to the solution, getting to the answer. Biotechnology takes that one step further, and it's getting the answers and then moving on from that point to be able to solve the problem. So, this could be different areas like pharmaceutical design, for example. This could go and be a pharmacy technician. This could be in fabrication if you want to work in prosthetics. This could be in medical research. It could be in cancer research. There's a lot of different areas you can go with it. And if you think about it from the state of Pennsylvania, there's over 77,000 people in the state of Pennsylvania employed in the field of pharmaceuticals and biotechnology. So I really think that's an underutilized area. And also, too, we're only one of a handful of schools across the United States who offers a four-year track in fabrication and nanobiotechnology. So it's definitely a great area to pursue if you're looking more into the invasive sciences.
Thank you, Aaron. Before we go on to Katie, I'm going to ask you all to add one more thing to your spiel there. We have another question about admissions requirements. Just what are our admissions requirements and any changes in the age of COVID? And I would just ask you to, of course, keep it short, Aaron, to give the other ladies enough time.
So admissions requirements, it's a free application to apply. We solely need a 2.7 GPA for admission, and also too, we are a test optional institution. No major changes due to COVID, except we are fully virtual currently right now for the fall semester.
Thank you.
Okay, so at Penn College, we offer certificates, associate degrees, bachelor's degrees. We do have a combined bachelor's, master's for our physician assistant program, and we are excited to now have a master's degree for nursing education. For admissions requirements, we are test optional. So we have open enrolling admission. We don't have an SAT requirement, and we don't have a minimum GPA requirement. All you need to apply, and it's a free application, would be your high school transcript. And once we have that, you'll be offered acceptance to the college. So it's a pretty quick process there. As far as COVID changes, we are all on campus. We're wearing masks, of course, and having, extra protocol to keep the campus community safe. And we are offering on-campus visits right now too. So we do have those available out on our website. But as far as another program goes, I am going to plug our welding program because we did just complete some exciting renovations in our welding labs. So we now have over 55,000 square feet of welding space for our students to get that hands-on education experience. And we have different areas where all of our students are able to just focus on their welding project and what they need to get done at that time and have their own individual space. So that's completely yours for the time that you're in the welding lab. And some of our students are getting more than 20 hours a week of hands-on welding experience too. We do have an electron beam welder now, which is the only one available in North America. So we're super excited to add that and give our students that extra experience to, learn the ins and outs of welding and be better prepared for when they're hitting the workforce after they complete their degree.
All right, so at Thaddeus Stevens, one of the big things is you need at least a 2.0 or higher GPA. We have smaller class sizes, so most of our majors, there's only 25 of you. So the higher your GPA, the better. You don't have to take the SATs. If you do, we'll look at your test scores. Otherwise, we have an entrance exam that it's math, reading, and writing. So you have to be at college level. And those are the two things that we require. There's not really any major COVID changes. We're currently doing a hybrid. Some students are it's some online, some in person, like our shop time is in person. And we don't really have a deadline. We start once a year. So there's no deadline for applications, but the sooner you apply, the better. Just real quickly, because I know we're almost out of time, one of the majors that I think is really cool is computer integrated machining, basically manufacturing. I think there's still a stigma that manufacturing is dark and dungy and not maybe a really great job to get into, but that has definitely changed. And I think it's worth pursuing to look into different manufacturing, especially computer integrated machining. A lot of it is computer operated. So just check it out when you have time.
All right, thank you very much. We did have one last question from Isabella. I see that Aaron, you have answered, I think privately to Isabella. She was asking about most popular majors. We've talked about some that we think are not as well known, and it could be that the most popular you've already mentioned, but we do have just another minute or two here. Aaron, you mentioned computer and information sciences, forensics, and interactive media are the most popular for Harrisburg University. Katie, what's your most popular program?
Our most popular would be information technology. We have a few different programs that fit in there, like game and simulation, cybersecurity, network administration, just to name a few.
Okay, how about you, Samantha, most popular?
I'd probably say like HVAC, electrical, carpentry. We actually have to double. We take 2 classes at 25, and they're so in demand in the industry as well.
All right, fantastic. Well, I think that is bringing us, back to the end of the presentation. I'm going to just real quickly go back here to the slides with your individual information in the event that anybody in the audience would like to follow up with us with specific questions about our school. I want to take this moment. Yes, Trey, I see your question there. I'm doing that as we speak. If we can read each other's minds. I want to thank Aaron and Katie and Samantha for being here today, and for everyone in our audience to join us. I hope that you learned a lot. It's such an exciting time for STEM, and we specifically partnered with Samantha and Katie for this presentation because we know and value what they offer, and we feel we have a lot to offer each other in terms of support and sharing of ideas and things of that nature. So John, thank you for being here. Trey, Madeline, Isabella, everyone who asked questions today. Take care and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
You're muted.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining, and thanks to our presenters. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. So we would appreciate any feedback that you can provide. And last reminders, there are still more sessions that you can sign up for the next couple of weeks, and you will be able to find this session's recording all at pacac.org. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.